Hello, everyone. I wish I had me right, to say the least. Um, just a day after I posted my video on violence, the Mars Pluto square, horrible violence erupted in the Middle East, and my heart goes out for those civilians, especially the women and children, because this is unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable. Unfortunately, the space-time moment carries this flavor of violence. And I have a hunch that the powers that be, who are kind of losing power but want to get back into power, simply are simply igniting these fires. So if you look around, you will see there's violence everywhere, in Israel, in general, in the big cities of Western Europe, in Ukraine, in Africa, and it's going to escalate. This is what I feel, and unfortunately, the space-time energy supports my understanding. And let's take a look at today's uh, chart, which is about Pluto turning direct. On the 10th and 11th of October, it is stationary, and it is full-blown direct on October 12th. Now, what is a stationary planet? I explained it a couple of times, but let's revisit the idea. We are unable to observe ellipses from the Earth, and of course the planets orbit in an elliptical plane. So what happens is it looks as if a planet is slowing down and almost stopping in its course, and then turning slowly backwards, and then it's making like an S turn by after a while turning direct again. And that's exactly what Pluto is doing. Now, stationary planets, according to tradition, greatly emphasize their own utilities, their own worth. And Pluto is the planet of power and transformation. And in Capricorn, it is trying to transform rigid power structures in the world. The problem is that those who own these rigid power structures don't want to be reformed, don't want to be expelled. And Pluto will be staying in Capricorn as far as I remember, probably around the middle of January. It's going to move into Aquarius once more. But in the meanwhile, it is still in Capricorn, so it is moving very, very slow. As you can see, the station is at 27 degrees 53 minutes in Capricorn. And whenever a planet is turning, it is really, really slowing down. So it's like barely moving in seconds. And this Pluto is still in a square relationship with Mars. Mars is at the very end of Libra. It is ready to move into Scorpio, which is traditionally one of its own sign. And in modern astrology, of course, Pluto is ruling Scorpio. So the moment it moves in to this sign, it will be ruled by Pluto, and thus this violent energy is unfortunately going to continue. And if you look at the chart, this is for Budapest. I believe this is for the 11th, because I was trying to find the middle energy, but it doesn't really matter, because we are not going to look at the angles. We are not going to look at the moon, which is in Virgo. It was in Virgo a day earlier. It will be in Virgo a day later. It's not really important. What is important is what you see in the chart. And what you see in the chart is groups of planets in conjunction. And I explained this many times, that if you see many conjunctions, it denotes the notion of, I don't want to be alone. I need someone. Together we are a lot more than separately. And at the same time, when you have these clusters of planets, the oppositions are forming a much quicker and easier. And this is exactly what you see in this chart. You see conjunctions and oppositions. So you see how clusters of people or nations or countries are trying to unite their energies, and at the same time they are forming coalitions and then opposing others. And that's why the space-time moment is kind of dangerous. Let's take a look at these conjunctions very quickly. There is a conjunction by Venus to Black Moon, which is actually a separating conjunction already, and then an applying one to with Trans-Pluto, and then the Black Moon will be conjunct Trans-Pluto in a couple of days and weeks, because it's an applying one. Anyhow, and Trans-Pluto is very, very slow. Anyhow, Venus is the planet of love, money, well-being, harmony, and money-creating faculties. And the Black Moon Lilith denotes a type of behavior. Just to remind you, this is the third turning point of the Lilith myths. If you are interested, you can go and watch. I have a couple of videos on Lilith in English, both in English and Magyar. I'm trying to do my videos in both languages. Anyhow, and this particular Lilith, which is the Black Moon, is the third turning point, and it denotes a behavior pattern when I go somewhere and do something which I deem right, just, important, relevant, unavoidable. And for this, I first of all, I need to know things. I also need to be aware of things, and I also want to do this on my own volition. No one is forcing me to do it, because I know this is right, that's the right behavior. So that is what Lilith, the Black Moon Lilith, represents, this type of very, very strong feminine. So here you see 3 strong feminines, and of course Trans-Pluto is dimension jump. So as if the planet of love and money is kind of finding support in these 2 archetypes. This is how I look at it. And then Mercury is conjunct Pallas Athena. It is an applying conjunction. It will be exact the next day when Pluto is turning direct, actually. And Pallas Athena is the wisdom, and Pluto is everyday discourse. And wherever you have these planets in conjunction, the space-time moment is infused with the potential to have meaningful, wise conversations within the family and also elsewhere. So this is a saving grace, at least one saving grace for us. And then there's an interesting dichotomy with the nodes, because in this particular moment when Pluto is stationary and then ready to turn direct, you see the south node exactly conjunct the asteroid Lilith, and the north node exactly conjunct Aries. We spoke about Aries many, many times. This particular conjunction, the Aries North Node conjunction, is this year's main karmic astrological feature, besides the Pluto Sedna trine, which is going on next year. It will be going on next year. But this one, it really talks about what is happening in the world. Aries denotes drastically altered outward circumstances. And of course, the North Node is our chosen destiny. And our chosen destiny is now linked to self-assertion. It's also linked to violence in the world, Aries, of course. And the notion here is that you need to learn to support yourself, to stand up for yourself, to say what is necessary, to do what's necessary. If you look around, you see that slowly and surely, our everyday means are taken away from us. Do you want to make a population healthier and richer? Okay, try to keep food prices and energy prices low. Do you want them to suffer? Do you want them to become poor? Raise those prices. And this is what the powers that be are doing. Last year, they made the energy prices so high that ordinary people couldn't even afford it. And now they are slowly doing away with the food supply. And this is really, it's going to have a terrible impact on us, because if it comes to a point where you won't be able to buy food, or you won't be able to heat your homes, then you have nothing. And it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank, or how much gold you have, or how much lands you have. If your everyday life is turned into misery, then you're nothing, and everyone can do whatever it wants with you. So that's the problem here, and I can't even question this, that this is their this is what they want to achieve, because that is what you see in the world. Okay, oil prices just went up again, of course, because there's this disruption in the Middle East, and food prices will follow. And then what they do with the food chain, what they do with the food supply chain, of course, that they are trying to do away with lands that are fertile, and it's going to be terrible. It's going to be really terrible if we don't do anything. And actually, with the Mercury Pallas Athena, we have the chance in this space-time moment to say what you think. But the fact remains that the North Node Aries conjunction is really brutal. But on the other hand, the South Node Lilith conjunction is interesting, because as you can see in this particular chart, and in really all the charts that I have been looking at for quite some time, and we'll be looking at, because I'm going to, of course, we are going to look at the eclipse on the 14th in detail. This is going to be much shorter than usual, but this is what I'm aiming for. And then I keep bubbling. But that's what can I do? This is what I am. But anyhow, so the Liliths are very prominent in these charts, and Lilith is the true personification of power, because Mars is very often not just self-assertion but violence, whereas in the Lilith energy you don't have any violence, you only have the power, or you have this strength. And the Liliths are very strong, and this one, this particular Lilith, the asteroid Lilith, denotes revolt against injustice. So it's at the South Node. The South Node here is in Libra, and it denotes the manifestation of some kind of diplomacy. Let's talk about it. Let's resolve our issues. How? By revolt against injustice. And my friends in England are doing just that. They are slowly trying to take back the power that was taken away from the everyday people. They are trying to nicely revolt, so to speak. That's exactly the energy. And then we have the Saturn dark moon conjunction, and Saturn here is retrograding and making an exact mutable square with Sedna. Sedna is creation through dissection. Now, Saturn is a tricky planet, because, of course, it is our obstacles and duties and chores and learning lessons and also such, but also it is the last visible planet, and the ancients thought that Saturn rules time and space, and actually the boundaries, and we do need boundaries. So at the moment in Pisces, it's not very, very happy. So it's very hard to keep boundaries in water, of course. But the fact remains that it is still kind of stalling either the potential or our chances to redo our world, because Sedna denotes creation through dissection. Unfortunately, it also denotes all sorts of atrocities, and this is what you see in the Middle East, and this is what I will never be able to understand. The problem here is, just to philosophize one sentence more, is that these atrocities won't be forgiven. The problem with all kinds of violence is that you never know where it started, and truth depends on where you start the story. And you can be sure that the Israeli-Palestinian clash will go on for centuries. You can be sure that for the next 200 years, Ukrainians and Russians will hate each other. And if we keep up this hate in the world, nothing is going to happen. We will still have these fire potentials and violence potentials. That's the problem. And Saturn dark moon is about the acceptance of the curse. The acceptance, both kind of are linked to the idea of curse. And it's, of course, it's opposite the Venus trans-Pluto Lilith energy. So it's quite interesting in a way. And then West Austria, of course, which is another conjunction that we have been looking at for quite a while. It is focused on karma breaking and destiny changing. So that's it. The Pluto turning around carries a lot of violence. It carries a lot of clashes and a lot of at the same time it gives us the potential to talk about things, to discuss things in a nice and ordinary manner. That's what the Mercury Pallas Athena allows us to do. So please pay attention, try not to clash with others, try to keep your civility and be wise. That's what I would recommend. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.